Welcome to the Sprat Shack. First one's on the house, and I won't even water it down. What'll it be?
Hello, and welcome to the Yetti Den. Today, I thought it'd be fun to talk about the Outer Worlds. The goal is to kind of give you an elevator pitch to help you decide if the Outer Worlds is worth checking out or not. With Starfield launching this week, I've been digging into RPGs that might make for great context as I'm experiencing Bethesda's first foray into space. If you're new to this channel, we cover games like the Outer Worlds, Fallout, and Starfield. So if you're into more content like that, please give this video a like and subscribe. Here's my elevator pitch for Obsidian Entertainment's The Outer Worlds. Did you like Fallout New Vegas? If the answer is yes, then you might like The Outer Worlds, and here's why. I've been playing this game for the first time this year, and I wanted to experience it before I jumped into Starfield. Creatively, I was really interested to see what Obsidian would do with this fresh IP. I had questions like how Fallout-y would the Outer Worlds feel, so let me just pull on that thread for a second. I did feel some Fallout-type energy from the Outer Worlds, but that wasn't the only game series that came to mind. I also felt a lot of Bioshock's influence, maybe a little bit of Arcane's Dishonored steampunk aesthetic, and a fair amount of Mass Effect's companion integration.
We could use your help, Williams.
Aye, aye, sir. It's time for payback.
With all that being said, I am really curious to see if Todd Howard's Starfield will draw on any of the same inspirations as the Outer Worlds, or maybe even be inspired by components of the Outer Worlds itself. I was also curious to see what Obsidian could create with Unreal Engine 4 versus their experience with the Fallout 3 engine via their time developing Fallout New Vegas. Being a huge fan of Bethesda titles, it did take me a while to get used to the Outer Worlds' semi-open world feel. In this way, it definitely reminded me of Mass Effect more than Fallout New Vegas. Part of the focus of the Let's Talk About series is that I hope to give you my honest first impressions. I'll inevitably dive deeper into the conversation around the Outer Worlds, but for now, my impression of the base game is that it's a lot of fun with a fair amount of replay value. I've been playing it on the Xbox Series X and really enjoyed the visual presentation. One note, the text is really hard to look at, and it made me feel like I was going blind, but a friend DM'd me warning me about this, saying that it made him feel the same way. So I'm really curious to see what it would look like on the Switch with an even smaller screen, or maybe a Steam Deck down the line. So more broadly, let me answer the question of what is the Outer Worlds. This game was directed by Fallout 1's original creators, Leonard Boyarsky and Tim Kaine. And The Outer Worlds is an original space RPG by Obsidian Entertainment, released in 2019. So let's kind of rapid fire go through a couple of the core elements of the game to give you a better sense on how the game feels on modern consoles.
Captain. I can call you Captain now. I got a captain.
The core gameplay loop reminds me of a mashup between maybe Bioshock, Fallout New Vegas, and Mass Effect. There's an overworld planet map where you fly to different planets by selecting their docking bays. Once you get to the planet, there's these zones that you can explore with villages and outposts and cities. Some of the planets are explorable zones that are actually quite large, but it all feels really manageable. Mostly every building has to do with either the main quest, a faction quest, or a side quest. You will find some boarded up, inaccessible buildings like in Fallout New Vegas, but definitely not as many of them. As you're traveling between locations, there will definitely be these procedurally generated combat encounters with creatures, marauders, and robots. And as far as the writing goes, I do love the writing. It has a lot of heart and charm and humor to it. It's missing a little bit of that dark intrigue and edge that I really like, But that's also a strength of the game because the tone really helps me personally jump in and jump out or play for a long while without feeling like the game is too moody or too dark. It's really accessible. The writing in general manages to not take itself too seriously, yet it does feel like a project that the developers were passionate about, and the conversations flow effortlessly, and I love the dialogue system. The Outer Worlds combat is fun and pretty serviceable for an RPG. It's not perfect. If you're coming from the modern Fallout games, you might miss the V.A.T.S system. The Adreno Time combat mechanic is nice. It's not as fun as V.A.T.S, but it is serviceable. The enemy AI on medium difficulty is pretty bad. I think that's one of the game's weakest components. I feel like I started to notice it more on the higher levels. But yeah, I definitely want to dive in more and find out exactly why that is and to see if I'm the only one who feels that way or not. Looting weapons is a blast. The tinkering, repair, and modding systems are solid. The inventory system does feel like it slows down the action of the game. I collect so much armor because it gives you these specific skill boosts and all these kind of stat adjustments, and so I might want to throw on a hat to lockpick or something that boosts my charisma, but the way that the inventory is structured, it makes that process feel pretty arduous. So there's a lot of modern comforts that I would like to see in that inventory system that I felt like were missing. I noticed that I was managing my weight capacity more than I'd like. I loved Fallout 3's solution for repairing weapons with other weapons, and I missed that type of snappy system for managing a heavy weight load. And I wish more games used that system, honestly, because it's fun to hear that clicking sound and to see the improving stats so quickly while you're in a dungeon or just roaming around. Yeah, so far, I haven't loved that weight problem that the Outer Worlds inventory gives you so often. I will say though, you can break down your gear. So in that sense, it is kind of similar. I guess the core difference would be that in Fallout 3, you're able to mash two guns together on the go. And you can, I believe, possibly tinker and repair and even modify on the go in the Outer Worlds. The difference being, if you want to bring that weight down, you have to actually break down the weapon, and that might only secure certain mods. You might lose the mods that were attached. I guess the issue is a little bit more intricate. They did provide some solutions, but not really the solution that I was looking for, or at least I haven't found that yet. Maybe it's already in there and I'm just missing it.
Nothing we can do about that.
Sure there is. We can have another 0G.
I enjoyed exploring the world of the Outer Worlds. It feels like a very tightly designed Dungeons & Dragons map. Everything feels pretty purposeful, lots of opportunities to grind and try out new combat mechanics. I love that I can travel back to most of the locations that I've already frequented, grabbing loot I might have missed, picking locks I couldn't access before, and hacking terminals. The game's performance on the Series X has been pretty stable. I'll save most of those critiques for future videos, but if you're wondering if the game will crash or have game-breaking bugs, I wouldn't be too worried about that unless you upgrade to the Spacer's Choice Edition, which I have heard is riddled with bugs. You will notice pop-in, especially on the first planet. I noticed it less on the later planets. Overall, I would say just the opening of the Outer Worlds isn't the strongest. I really like that first planet, actually, and Edgewater. It's just, I did notice some of those performance issues when I booted up the game for the first time and when I revisit that first planet. And again, I would love to get my hands on the Switch version and see how that's running. So if you were to play this game, I would recommend trying it out on Gamepass or maybe purchasing like a physical copy of the original Xbox One version and installing that. I'd imagine you still can purchase the original release of the Outer Worlds. It's like patched and updated as opposed to the Spacer's Choice version. But yeah, maybe grab a copy. What I'm playing is the Game Pass version that's synced with my physical version. So I'm still imagining you could purchase just the base game without having to deal with the bugs from the, I don't know if it's like a next gen update or how they marketed Spacer's Choice, but I would say avoid it until you see someone play it again and give us the state of the game.
What are you on about? You take a bruise to the cranium?
As far as sound and music goes, the voice acting is incredible. I really enjoyed the performances, from the animation to the delivery of the lines. The gunshots in particular sound incredibly satisfying. Gunshots in the Outer Worlds are weighty. One critique I do have is the shotgun. The shotgun just doesn't quite feel like a shotgun, and any game that gives me a shotgun, I'm going to give it a go and try and level it up to where it feels super powerful.
I can pay for that.
And I just found, for whatever reason, the shotgun in the Outer Worlds kind of let me down. I'm looking for that like snappy but powerful kind of response. It might be the way that the weapons scale, I'm not really sure. We'll talk more about weapons in future videos where we dive deeper. But back to sound and music. So the music is strong, the main theme drew me into the game, and if I'm not to be mistaken, Justin Bell is not only serving as the game's composer, but also he's the audio director. So more info on that. I would love to do some research on his process and how he manages all that work. I hope that this breakdown helps you to decide if this is a game worth checking out. If you're a fan of the Xbox ecosystem, then you might also want to consider diving into this title before Obsidian's new fantasy RPG Avowed hits Game Pass. Obsidian has kind of reframed Avowed as more similar to the Outer Worlds than to Bethesda's Skyrim, so keep that in mind. I would love to hear about your impressions on this game, and if you've played it and want to share your thoughts or leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. But this has been the Yetti Den, and that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.